I got no idea what day we're on. This is day 6 of lecture. Today we're talking about word problems and like reading them and stuff like that. Because this class is all about word problems, the whole goddamn course. If there's a class that is all about word problems, it's this one more than any other fucking math course ever. And almost all students dislike word problems. And I get it, because it's harder to like go from the word problems to the equations. It's real hard. So like, let's look at the words in math, like what words that we can see and what operations they trigger. So like translating words to math. So here's a following list of keywords and what operation they go with. Well, we've got the good old equal sign. We'll see things like the word is, was, yields, gives, are, results in. And of course, we might see the word equal, in fact, equal or equals, or something like equivalent. Equivalent is an equal sign as well. Then we get to addition. Obviously, we might see the word add or plus, because it's a plus sign. But words like more, greater, extra, and words like sum or total, both of these words represent the outcome of addition. We could do subtraction. So obviously the word subtract. That symbol is the minus symbol. Less or fewer. Reduced. And the word difference. Difference is the outcome of subtraction. So that's the official word for the end result of a subtraction. Speaking of reduced, we might see increased above on addition. We could have increased up here. Maybe decreased here, decrease also represents taking or take away. Although I strongly suspect we won't see take away. That's like how we talk about it with like a fucking 6-year-old. 7 take away 5. But if the problem's worded correctly, it won't sound like you're talking to a child, and take away might work. Multiply doesn't have that many. Obviously, multiply is one of them. Times. Factor. Or product. Product is the outcome of multiplication. So I'm underlining all the words that represent like the result. And finally, division. So we might see divide or divided by. Shared amongst. Or among. Split. And the outcome of division is called the quotient. I've been waiting to get that those 7 letters along with the right letter and hit my wife with it on Scrabble. Now, let's start doing some word problems. I'm going to focus on the ones that are very similar to what I saw in the sport quiz first. And then give it time, I'll do a couple more. Everyone ready? Okay. So one thing we might see is 5 times the sum of a number. And 4 is 13. I thought 15. We'll say 15. So 5 times means we're going to have 5 times something. The way this is worded, they didn't say 5 times the number first, they said 5 times the sum. So we need to do adding before multiplying. And we're adding, I'm going to use a dot rather than an X. I'll leave the 5X like that, but in the problem, I'm going to have 5 times something. Sum means addition, so let's just put that in parentheses. I don't know what one of the numbers is, so let's give it a letter. Let's call it Y. And it says 4. So Y plus 4 is the sum of a number and 4. And now we're going to do 5 times that. So the sum of a number and 4 took priority. That's the first thing we had to do. Then we multiply by 5. Is a giant equal sign. And we got 15 on the right. Let's look at a slight twist of the same thing. We're gonna have the exact same words in there. This one's gonna say the sum of 5 times the number and 4. It's 15. Okay, so my is my equal sign. And I got 15 on the right. The sum of tells me we're adding two things together. We're adding. And then I'm going to look at what it says after to see what we're adding. It says the number 5, but it goes with the 5 going with the times. So 5 times a number is one of the items that we're adding. And I'll use y again. So 5 times y. And then plus 4. So this changed it quite a bit, the result. And it's just a reordering of the words. So it takes practice just getting used to how they word questions. On the first one, it says 5 times the sum. Well, I can't multiply 5 times something if I don't know what it is. So we got to do the sum first. Sum is y plus 4. Since we're doing it first, we're going to put it in parentheses. That way it happens first, because parentheses come first in order of operations. Here it says take the sum, and then there's only 2 things that follow it. 5 times a number and 4. So those must be the 2 things that we're at. And we already covered how to get rid of those or solve those problems. So those are 2 different problems that have the exact same words in them. The question that has the exact same words, just in a different order, which is crazy. Here's another one. Difference of y and 3. Is the quotient of y and 5. All right, I got the word is here, and this is splitting my sentence up into 2 parts. That part and that part. So the is my equal sign. Difference meant subtraction. So we're gonna, it says y and 3, the order we're doing it in, we're gonna leave it in the order that we would be subtracting. Quotient means division. So y divided by 5. Another way of writing y divided by 5 is doing it as a fraction. Either of those answers that question. You guys ready for more? All right, percentage questions. Or questions that have the word percent in it. What is 15% of 80? Now, I learned this when I was a kid and I really like it, and I'm going to share it with you guys. It's the is of percent triangle. You will always have two of the things in the triangle. The three things in the triangle. And the goal is find the third. Find the third value. So I'm going to set up three triangles and show what they all, how it works for each setup. We could be missing the is, and we'll have like an X here, a number here, and a number here. So here the is missing. Maybe I won't say X. I'll put actually of and percent. The is missing. We could have the of missing, but we have the is and the percent. Or we could have the is and the of, but be missing the percent. So here of is missing, and here percent is missing. You strip them out of the equation and you just put them in. And the way this works is don't look at the missing one, look at the relationship of the two that are there. Right now, of and percent are side by side. This thing acts like parentheses. So this is going to be of times percent. So this one is multiplication of the two that you have. For the second one and the third one, is over percent, or is over of. Is over percent, is over of. So we're doing division. This looks like a fraction bar. Now, the percent needs to be used in decimal format. But let's go back up to, or let's take a look at what is 15% of 80. My 80 is next to the word of, that's my of value. That is clearly a percent. So the what is going with the is. We have this circumstance. Question mark on top. Of is 80, which goes here. And 15% as a decimal is 0.15. So the question mark will be 80 times 0.15, which is 12. Let's do 25 is what percent of 40? The 25 is touching the is, and the 40 is touching the of, which puts the what with the percent. That's the one we don't know. So 25 goes on top and 40 goes on bottom. The question mark is 25 over 40. Do that in a calculator. I get 0.625. Now, that's not a percent. We need to write it as a percent. So to shift to a percent, we shift that decimal to the right twice and add the percent symbol. This will be 62.5%. How you guys doing so far? Doing all right? Has anyone seen the triangle before? Or it might be a circle shape, but it does the same symbol. Some teachers teach it in high school and elementary school, some don't. Some of us might be too old and don't remember. All right, next I have a question. All right, let's throw Melinda in a problem. Melinda has test scores of 78, 84, 95, 62, 76. Her final exams counts as 2 tests. What score does she need on the final? to get 80%. Okay. So we want to figure out like how to get the 80%. This is like the average that we're looking for here. This is an average. Average of the 5 tests and the final. Which means what we're looking for is we need to add up the scores. What do we do for average or mean? We add them up. Plus, I don't know what her last test score is. I'll call it X. But it's worth twice as much. So I'm going to call it 2X. And how many tests does she have total? She's got 5 regular tests and then the final exam, which counts as 2 tests. So 5 plus 2 is 7 on the bottom. So, and we want that to end up being at 80%, which is 0.8. Maybe we'll just leave it as an 80 and we'll treat it as percents the whole way. How about that? So now that I got an idea of what's going on, I'm going to do that 7 that's in the denominator. I can put it out front as a multiplier if I do the reciprocal. And in here, I have 78 plus 84 plus 95 plus 62 plus 76 plus 2x equals 80. All right, now that I've got it set up with where I know what's going on, I can solve this. This is easier to get rid of the fractions first. How can I get rid of 1/7?
Flip it.
We're going to flip it, but we're going to multiply by flipping it. So if I flip it, it would be 7/1. And so we're going to multiply both sides by flipping it. Because the idea there is this becomes 7/7, which is just 1. And that cancels it out. So we're left with this 78 plus the 84 plus the 95 plus the 62 plus the 76 plus the 2x. 80 times 7 is 560. Well, I don't like all those numbers sitting there, so I'm going to add them all up. I'm getting 395 for those numbers right there. Did anyone else add them up? Did you get 395? Okay. It's easier to have someone else do it too. That way, if I fat finger the calculator, I'll find out right away. All right, so how did we solve these equations?
X by itself.
We want to get x by itself. Right now, what the easiest thing to do is get rid of is the thing that is added to it first. And so 395 is added to it, we're gonna subtract 395 from it. I think that's 165. 560.
Yeah.
Minus answer, okay. And now how do I get the x by itself here?
Sorry.
Divide. Or multiply by the flip it, which would be 1/2, but we'll do divide. Because that's the most intuitive thing to do right here. So x is gonna equal 165 over 2. And since we kept it in percent the whole way, this answer is in percent. And so maybe we should do the division and get 82.5%. Any questions? All right, next problem. Now, the one on the test I saw on the one on the test that's similar to this one, I saw a printer problem on the test. But I didn't want to do just the exact same problem, so this is gonna be our pizza problem for us. Custom large pizzas. At Round Table, which I will abbreviate RT. This was current as of fucking July. So I imagine it's still the same price, but it might have changed because it's been a couple months and you never know, the market's fucking crazy. $20.49 plus $2.50 a topping. One of these listed it flat out this way with no toppings, and then the other one showed it starting off at one topping, and so I had to adjust the price to make it safe, right? Pizza Hut is the other one we're gonna look at. So I'll use PH for this one. This one had $17.69 as a base price plus $2.90 a topping. Can everyone see that Round Table's base pizza is more expensive, but Pizza Hut's toppings are more expensive? So if we have enough, like Round Table is gonna be the more expensive pizza up until we get into a certain number of toppings, and then at that toppings, Pizza Hut becomes the more expensive pizza. So let's figure out when that is. When that transition is gonna happen, like, I'll write this in words now. RT is more expensive for little toppings. For a few toppings. But will be cheaper for a lot. How many toppings? We'll make the pizzas cost the same price.
The round table is more expensive for a few toppings,
Yes,
but will be cheaper for a lot.
for a lot of toppings.
That's a lot of pizza.
It's gotta be a lot of toppings. We're gonna find out how many. But we gotta figure out how to set this up as a math problem. So if you're not sure how to go about doing it. Just run through some scenarios. So let's just look at a round table for now. And we're trying to calculate the final price. So like if we have 0 toppings. The price is gonna be the $20.49. So basically a basic cheese pizza. If we want 1 topping. It's $20.49 plus $2.50. For 2 toppings. It's $20.49 plus 2 times $2.50. For 3 toppings. It's $20.49 plus 3 times $2.50. And at this point, a pattern starts to emerge. The $20.49 is there every single time. And it looks like however many toppings we have is multiplied by 250. $2.50, this is effectively $2.50 times 1. And this looks like if I backfill it, $2.50 times 0. So if I don't know how many toppings it is, it's going to be $20.49 plus question mark times 250. I think question mark might be a silly variable. So maybe let's use T for toppings. Let's call it T. So that's the round table price. $20.49 plus $2.50 times T. That's RT. The Pizza Hut was $17.69. And it has $2.90 times T. I'm just changing the numbers over, swatching it over for Pizza Hut. When the pizzas cost the same price, what does that mean in terms of these 2 values right here? This is the final price for T-topping pizzas at Round Table. This is the final price for T-topping pizzas at Pizza Hut. They're the same price. What do these 2 prices have? What is this? Like, how do they relate mathematically? What does same mean? Equal. So same is equal. Now, if you don't like working with the decimals, this is an easy fix. They all have 2 decimal places. So if we multiply everything by 100, like when we do percentage shifts it 2 decimal places, and we're multiplying by 100%. Here, I'm not doing percent, I'm just moving by 100. But now I can get it where I don't see decimals, and it might be a little bit easier to work with. Okay, I'm going to move I need to get the t's together on one side. They're on separate sides right now. I'm going to move the t to where it ends up being positive. So I'm going to move the smaller t. The smaller t is the 250. So I'm going to subtract 250 t from both sides. Forty t is left. Then we're trying to get t by itself. I'll subtract 1,769 from both sides. And this is 280 equals 40t. Finally, I want to get t by itself, so I'm going to divide it by 40, which means dividing the other side by 40. And this ends up being t equals 280 divided by 40 is 70. So at 7 toppings, RT and Pizza Hut, Round Table and Pizza Hut have the same price pizza. Custom large pizza. That's kind of neat. I looked at a bunch of different pizza places for this problem to try to get like a set that worked, but a lot of them, like if you choose like Domino's, it's cheaper on price and topping. So they're never going to be equal. I had to find 2 pizza places where the base price was different. One was higher at one, and then the toppings was higher at the other. I looked at 4 or 5 pizza shops before I found 2 that worked. That's kind of neat. I don't know how many people buy custom pizzas. Usually a lot of people that I know would just buy like the named ones, their signature, their special pizzas. All right, we got one more type of problem on here that shows up on the test. Is there any questions on this? So there's one type of question on the test. It's when you're solving for one variable. Or letter. When there's other variables present. So the example I'm gonna give you is a cone. So a cone's got this shape, the cone's got a height of h. The circular end has a radius of r. And the h is height. And the volume of a cone. What's up, Angel? Has the formula V equals 1/3 pi r squared h. And they're gonna give you an equation. One of the questions on that support quiz for those people that are in the support course. I don't think they give you volume of a cone, it's something else, but they're gonna say solve for a letter. So we're gonna solve for h here. What that means is get h by itself, just like we've been doing with the other ones. So like all of these are numbers in terms of h. The 1/3 is definitely a number, pi is definitely a number, it's 3.14. The r squared we're gonna treat as a number. So treat r squared as a number. So what happens when we had a bunch of things multiplied by x and we wanted to get x alone? We divided, right? We divided. Maybe let's clear that. So we divided to get x alone. We'll do the same here for h. I think it might be easier to address that fraction first, though. How did we get rid of fractions? We flipped it, multiplied by the flip it, right? So flipping 1/3 is 3/1. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 3/1. And I get 3v on the left, and on the right is pi r squared h. And now, as we talked about doing, we want to get h by itself. So we're going to divide by all the crap that's multiplied by h, whether it's a letter or not. And we get 3v over pi r squared equals h. Or we could write the h on the left. And that would be what you would answer, put in the computer. They will have a question like this. And that sort of wraps up all the support work for chapter 3. So if you haven't done this chapter 3 quiz yet, review your notes for the last few days and dig right in.
Is it this Thursday or next Thursday?
I have no idea.
Next Thursday? Yes.